Coming up.
This arrest, we hope, will provide a measure of justice to all those who were impacted.
A 29-year-old Uber driver now accused of setting the fire that devastated Pacific Palisades.
People just don't think before they do something and how many lives they affect.
What happened when the suspect faced a judge and what we're learning from people who knew him. We have a live report tonight from the Orlando area.
Anger, frustration.
Meanwhile, outrage and heartbreak in the Palisades as survivors react to the arrest and revisit the devastation left behind. And on the same day a suspect is charged, the LAFD releases its full report on the fire, revealing slow response times, outdated warning systems, and training gaps that may have made the Palisades fire even worse. Also breaking tonight, Israel and Hamas agreed to the first phase of a deal to end the war and free hostages.
Now, this is the Fox 11 News at 6.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock on this Wednesday evening. Thank you for being with us. I'm Maura Lateas. We begin with breaking news. A Florida man behind bars tonight arrested and charged with starting the Palisades fire using a lighter. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez kicks off our team coverage.
This man has been on investigators' radar for a while. They actually spoke to him on January 24th, and they believe that an arson fire they're blaming him for that was started on New Year's Eve is what actually ended up exploding into the Palisades fire.
We are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades.
According to the complaint affidavit, the 29-year-old headed to the Skull Rock trailhead after dropping off Uber passengers nearby on New Year's Eve.
Took iPhone videos at a nearby hilltop and listened to a rap song whose music video including objects being lit on fire.
The French rap artist is not a suspect in this case, but investigators say Rinderknecht repeatedly listened to the song. They also showed images of fire destroying a forest and people fleeing they say the suspect created on ChatGPT in the months before the fire. Investigators add that he started what became the Lawmaker fire on New Year's Eve and that the lighter allegedly used to start the fire was found in his car, adding that Rinderknecht's own phone shows several calls to 911 from the ignition point and while he was heading back to his vehicle.
He fled the scene in his car, but turned around after passing fire engines driving in the opposite direction to fight the fire. While the Lawmaker fire burned, he turned around and went back up there, and he took some video and watched them fight the fire.
As to how the Lawmaker fire turned into the deadly Palisades fire?
Although firefighters suppressed the blaze, the fire continued to smolder and burn underground until on January 7th, heavy winds caused this underground fire to surface and spread above ground, causing what became known as the Palisades Fire. It did take a week to reignite, but he is charged with starting the Palisades Fire.
Now, according to investigators, he was actually living in the Palisades, but moved to Florida right after the fires. Now, he is supposed to come back here to California where he will face federal charges because the fire, part of it was on federal land, and that could mean that if found guilty, he could face as much as 20 years in prison. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Christina Gonzalez, back to you in the studio.
Bill O'Saley saying he could also potentially face murder charges. Tonight, our Fox team is also in Florida, in the very neighborhood where the man accused of igniting one of California's deadliest fires was living, hiding in plain sight until his arrest. Fox's Chancellor Wynn joins us now live in Florida tonight. Chancellor?
Yeah, so a traffic stop is what led up to Jonathan Rinderknecht being placed into cuffs and put behind bars. Police say he had multiple family members living throughout the area, and Rinderknecht had been couch surfing from home to home, most recently living right here in this neighborhood. In fact, neighbors say they saw a large police presence at this clubhouse right around the time of his arrest. So we went into that neighborhood and began talking to people who live just homes away from where he had been staying. Now, all the neighbors telling us the same thing. The family is quiet. They stay to themselves. Some even say the family doesn't wave or even acknowledge other neighbors. So right now, it's unclear how long Rinderknecht had been living and staying in this neighborhood. But one neighbor, Chris Anderson, says he's surprised that the man accused of starting one of the deadliest fires in California history was living just feet away from him. Anderson says he doesn't recall seeing Rinderknecht, but he does remember seeing a large amount of police right at the front of his neighborhood around the time he was arrested.
They seem to have West Melbourne Police and ATF, and I think possibly the FBI were out, and very, very heavy police presence, and they had armored personnel, like to me it looked like they were expecting a shootout or something.
Now, Rinderknecht was arrested by West Melbourne Police, but ATF, that agency, is leading the investigation. Rinderknecht is scheduled to appear in court tomorrow morning and will then be transferred back to California. Reporting live in West Melbourne, Chancellor Nguyen, Fox 11 News.
Yeah, Chancellor, if you were listening to the press conference today, which I'm sure you were, that happened right here in Los Angeles, the acting attorney, U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, was saying that more serious charges could be filed because 12 people lost their lives in the Palisades Fire.
That's exactly correct. That's what was discussed in that press conference, and that was one thing that stood out to many of the neighbors we spoke to. They say that fire was tragic, but it's the thousands of homes and the people who lost their lives. One neighbor even saying he was shocked that he was only looking at around 20 years or so, expecting much more because of, again, those 12 people who were killed.
And do we know, I mean, obviously last we knew here he was an Uber driver. Was he employed there in Melbourne, Florida? Do we know?
Well, that's what's interesting. Neighbors say they don't even remember seeing him. One neighbor, I showed him a picture, and I asked him specifically, have you seen this man? And he said, I'm sure I have, but I don't remember seeing him. That family never comes out the home. We'll be in our backyard grilling out. They won't say hi. We'll wave at them. They'll ignore us. So right now, it's unclear how long he had been living in West Melbourne or what his employment was or how he was sustaining any type of lifestyle besides couch surfing from home to home, like police say.
All right, Chancellor Nguyen, live for us in Melbourne, Florida tonight. Thank you so much. The Palisades Fire burned more than 23,000 acres. It burned more than 6,800 buildings, killed a dozen people. The devastation is still evident 9 months later. Now, local and state lawmakers are reacting to the arrest of the suspected arsonist, recognizing all that was lost.
They found the arsonist, and we'll look at the investigation, what backed up this indictment, and then we'll look at the facts and judge on the basis of those facts.
The charges against the perpetrator demonstrate that it was a calculated, malicious act that unleashed death and destruction on innocent people.
We want to make sure that we are able to prevent anything like this from happening again, and we always have to look at ourselves and examine what we could have done better.
Well, just 2 hours ago, the LA Fire Department released its after-action report that lays out scores of recommendations about how its response to the Palisades Fire could have been better. Fox 11's Nick Garcia live now with that part of the story tonight. Nick?
Right, Marlo. Well, it's a very extensive report, 70 pages long, at some points breaking down hour by hour, even minute by minute sometimes, that first day and a half of response to the Palisades Fire. Here are some of the takeaways here you're going to see on your screen in a moment. Addressing the delayed response, the report states that the crews needed to be more prepared for the wind-driven fire of that magnitude, those windy conditions that were certainly different than we would typically see in our region here. And also financial constraints. The decision to deploy was based more so on the constraints instead of the factors, those wind and fire factors that they were facing. Also, outdated weather data and evacuation warnings. The fire weather forecast, according to this report, says the department relied upon antiquated systems, which proved to be inaccurate due to the many different terrains we have in LA. This also could have been much worse, according to the report, if the fire sparked at night, even recommending that we may need to start using warning sirens. They need to consider those in the future, possibly. Also, report calls for urgent wildfire training and new equipment. Qualifications for wildland fire specialty training, at least according to this, has declined. The department is now working to improve that training in light of these fires. And in addition to education, the report says the department needs to purchase more vehicles and apparatus to better handle the call volume, certainly a fire like this as well. Now take a look at some of this video. I know you've seen it many times. You probably remember it yourself. One of the most destructive fires in the city's history. All eyes certainly watching those flames, what really looked like a war zone. The firefighters fighting an uphill battle, we're learning as well, both the flames and that lack of preparedness. Most firefighters, according to this report, worked for more than 36 hours without rest. Again, we know all of that because someone intentionally set this fire, we know now. Back out here live, though, like I said, it's a lot of information in that report. We're working to break it on down for you. Marla?
I mean, I did my best to go through the 70 pages, as you pointed out. It has successes, it has primary challenges, it has secondary challenges, then lessons learned and recommendations. Was there something that really stood out to you in that forward-thinking element of lessons learned and recommendations?
Yeah, it's really kind of where the report ends, and I want to note they go into more than 40 points of lessons learned and possible recommendations, including better cooperation with agencies and really improving the evacuation and communication system. We did see issues with that, delayed evacuation warnings. And then, as we've mentioned, you know, a lot of those last-minute evacuations led to people rushing to get out, clogging up routes that crews were also using to try to get to the fire. So that posed a problem. Staging areas, they're working on a better positioning staging areas, as well as, of course, the evacuation routes.
And Nick, is it your understanding, because I know Governor Newsom alluded to this today when he was here in Los Angeles, that this is separate from the state's after action report, which still has not been released?
That is correct. This is a two-part report that we're expecting to come out from the state.
Okay.
The first part of that will come out the week of October 20th.
October 20th. Okay, very good. Nick Garcia live for us tonight. Thank you so much. More reaction. Real estate developer Rick Caruso, who's been a critical resource in the Palisades rebuilding efforts, reacting to the arrest of a suspect.
Now to know that this fire could have been prevented, which many of us always believed, just makes it that much worse. So more to say later, but I just wanted to let you know my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the Palisades and Malibu who lost their homes due to this evil, evil, sick man.
Rick Caruso there lost to Karen Bass in the last mayoral election and is reportedly looking to challenge her again or possibly run for governor. In a social media post after he posted that video message, he went on to say this. This was a failure of government on an epic level, starting with Mayor Bass, her and the city's incompetence, mismanagement, and failure to plan, prepare, and pre-deploy directly led to people dying, thousands of lives being upended and put on full display, the consequences of ineffective and incapable leadership. I commend the work of federal authorities who led this investigation, but we can't let today's news distract us from how the city failed the people of Los Angeles. Rick Caruso is one of the more recognizable faces of the Palisades recovery, but Fox 11's Haley Winslow has been talking to residents today, and she joined us now live with their reaction. Haley?
Marla, they call it a gut punch and say they feel angry, violated, vulnerable, nauseous, and they're still confused, wanting more answers on exactly how all this unfolded, but they say it just doesn't look or feel the same as it used to.
Anger, frustration. We have a lovely community.
Police arrested 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, saying the fellow Pacific Palisades resident intentionally set his community on fire in what became the 8-acre Lockman fire and smoldered underground, undetected, for nearly a week.
I just took some pictures.
This is a resident's video of the ignition site the day before reigniting in hurricane-force winds in woods not far away, and became the deadly and devastating Palisades Fire. 12 people lost their lives. Thousands lost their homes.
The magnitude of devastation was huge. I was up here in the days right after the fire. Houses that were two-story homes were flat. They were pancaked. Winds blowing at 100 miles an hour. 2,000 degrees. Everything melted.
9 months later, disturbing details released Wednesday force victims to relive the trauma.
I pray for the world and society that people don't have so much pain inside to commit such a catastrophic event.
The Palisades is completely wiped out.
Just under the trail, fire raged all around Brooke Josephson. It spared her home, but looters in camouflage cut the camera feed, broke in through the window, and stole all her jewelry.
It's creepy. Like, my kids and I still have nightmares from the break-in, and the less about the things that were stolen and more just the violation and the sense of like safety and peace.
But we've all been waiting for quite a long time. I'm happy to see that there are some answers, but I also hope that this is a real investigation and that this person is not a scapegoat.
We want to get back home and be together and hug each other.
The heartbeat of this community is still strong and resilient, but unfortunately, a lot of people have moved away and have started trying to rebuild their lives elsewhere, saying it just doesn't look or feel like they're Mayberry by the sea. Reporting live, I'm Haley Winslow, Fox 11 News.
Haley, nonetheless, do you get the sense that this does bring them some sense of closure?
It gives them a little bit of answers, Marla, but I heard you talking earlier about possible future charges. I know in that press conference this morning, they were just talking about the importance of getting this man behind bars. And, you know, as they continue their investigation, he will possibly be charged with face more charges, including possibly murder charges. But the important thing was getting him off the street. So I think that there's a lot of people angry right now that he's only facing a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years. But it sounds like, according to investigators, this is only the beginning.
Yeah, so in other words, they do want to see, if it comes to that, they do want him to face murder charges.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Haley, thank you so much. Take you live outside before we check in with our chief meteorologist. The sun about to set there, and there's the Malibu coastline. And Adam was out there yesterday driving along PCH, and it's still just heartbreaking to see all of those homes along the coastline completely gone, and to see all of the real estate signs, the for sale signs that are up there aligning PCH all these months later.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting to think how long ago it was and that it still looks like that. It is heartbreaking. I actually have some out-of-town guests that just left today, but for the last few days they were with us. We made a drive through that area. They got to see what it looked like. Surprising to them that it still looks like that this much past when it actually happened. And in terms of the weather, you know, we think about last year around this time, just how dry it was, and the fact that we're looking at rain coming in tomorrow is kind of a gift for this time of year. I mean, last year we went from May all the way to when the fire started January this year with virtually no rain across Southern California. So we are talking about rain this time around, and that's a good thing. Right now it is very quiet on radar and satellite, but our rain is coming from this tropical system, which won't reach us, but moisture coming from it will reach us. So let's go through the day tomorrow, because this is a changing weather day tomorrow. Don't get caught off guard on this one. We start in the morning, and the first thing you'll notice is that we have absolutely no marine layer in the morning. So that's already something that's a little bit different. We start to see some clouds trailing into our eastern areas in the morning. We start to maybe get some showers popping up late morning, midday. At first, it's going to be off towards the east. Rain should spread a little farther west as we go through the day, which means eventually we could see something in LA. But the areas east of LA will have the best chance of rain. So Orange County, Inland Empire, San Bernardino Mountains, low desert, some parts of the high desert. That's the general area to watch for most of the rain. Will take you into late day tomorrow. That's 6 p.m. And again, you can see a little rain or even some thunderstorms over the mountains passing through. Could get some pretty good downpours where these storms might form. The different colors on Futurecast here showing where there could be some heavier downpours. As we go into tomorrow evening, we start to find this winding down a little bit, but still in our eastern areas. I think Thursday night and even Friday, there's going to be a little bit more rain there. All right, temperatures overnight tonight now as we switch to this. We've got a lot of 50s on the map. Going to be a nice fall feel overnight. Tomorrow, though, actually during the day, we'll get a little warmer than we saw today. So we've got 80s and some 70s. Again, the farther inland you go, generally the warmer it is. The valleys, the IE, 80s coming tomorrow. I think just under 80 for the high around downtown Los Angeles. Orange County, upper 70s, mid 70s will be common. Some low to mid 70s along the coast. Another big story for us, once we get past this upcoming round of rain, is the fact that it's going to cool down significantly next week. So that's a look at the 7-day highs for the coast. We'll switch it to the valleys, the Inland Empire. Look at how it gets to maybe 92 Friday with some 70s coming next week. So that's going to be a significant cool down. A lot of people looking forward to that fall feel. It is definitely on the way next week. Marla?